Welcome to Miles Ahead, the Canadian Points podcast brought to you by FrugalFlyer.ca, where we talk about all things miles and points, a hobby that allows us to travel all over the world in style and on a budget. Today, we'll be breaking down when you may want to cancel a credit card, how it affects your credit score, and other options you might have rather than canceling. As a reminder, I'm Danny.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Josh.
Before we delve too far into this episode, I want to remind listeners that you can always find our timestamps in the show notes below if you'd like to skip around to a specific section or revisit a particular part. Additionally, if you're enjoying what you hear, please take a moment to leave us a review wherever you're listening to the show. We read all of that feedback, and the reviews in particular help us tremendously. Okay, getting straight into it. Closing a credit card and credit scores. So I think it's important, first of all, to understand why we would want to close a credit card. And the most straightforward thing is that the annual fee probably costs more than the benefits that you receive. But that might not be the only reason why.
Yeah, you might also have a change in travel needs, especially if you have a travel credit card. Perhaps you aren't traveling as much and you have a card like the Amex Platinum that's very heavy on lounge access. And you just can't get the value. Maybe you've moved, and so those dining credits that were easy to use before, can't use them anymore. Things change, right? So what's a great card for you now might not be a great card for you in a couple of years, and that's just kind of part and parcel of life, to say the least. I have also seen, and we had a member of our team go through this, Quentin, where he had to close some lines of credit as he was getting approved for his med school loans. They only allowed him to have so many lines of credit. You know, you may run into the same thing if you're looking to get a mortgage. So there can be other reasons, outside of finding the right card that's best for you, where you might need to close a couple lines. I think all of us on the call have extensive history in closing credit cards for various reasons. And, there's many different factors, I guess, that can play into it in making that decision to close a card.
Yeah. Jeff, anything to add to that?
On it, I think really a strategy a lot of us, well, the three of us at least, use is opening a card just for the welcome bonus. And then once we've, extracted that welcome bonus, held the card for a year. When we signed up, we knew that we weren't going to keep it past a year. And that's a perfectly valid strategy that I think the three of us do all the time.
Yeah. Every product has a shelf life, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Yes, and I will end this section or preface the show by saying that I haven't canceled very many cards that aren't Amex's. We'll get into it in the rest of the show, but Amex is funny with what you can do with product switching and whatnot. But for every other card, there's not very many that I've outright canceled. I've generally been able to find a no annual fee card to switch into. But we'll get through that as we get into some of our tips. And that's an excellent segue into some things that you want to consider as you are looking to close a card. So particularly in Canada, the banks have some shortcuts that you might not know about. I've talked about this on the show before. My bank, before I became a customer of all the banks, was TD. So I was very lucky in the fact that I had a huge credit limit with TD. As anybody who's been in the hobby for more than 5 minutes will know, that TD Canada is particularly hard to get approved with as you get deeper and deeper into having more credit lines open. So with TD, all that you need to do is call through their app. So you would log in with your banking details, click on Contact Us, and then click on Contact Credit Cards. It'll punch in a whole bunch of numbers that'll put you right to the front of the line, and you get to speak to an agent right away. And then on top of that, it also speeds up the authentication process, where they can generally verify you as who you say you are just from your voice if you call through the app. So rather than calling the number on the back of your card, open up your smartphone, click on the Contact Us through the app, and you'll have a heck of an easier time. But that's not the only trick. I think it was Josh that discovered a trick with CIBC.
Yeah, so CIBC is brutal if you call in. For me, it feels no matter you call early in the morning, late at night, it's like a 30-minute wait typically. Hopefully they don't hang up on you. Just a terrible time. So CIBC, they do have a chat bot on their site. They will not let you cancel that if you manage to connect through an agent through there. You do need to still speak on the phone. But if you type in there, cancel card, or I want to cancel a card or close a card, it does say, we don't have anyone that can do that for you via chat, but you can schedule a callback. And anybody who's dealt with callbacks, whether with airlines or other companies, knows it's far and above the simplest way to handle it. So simply punch your number in, pick the time. They'll call you within a couple minutes of when you've scheduled that callback, and you can have that card cancellation or anything else you need really help with CIBC as well. It might not just be a cancellation. Saves you a ton of time, and all you need to do is keep an eye on your phone for when you ordered that callback to happen. So definitely the preferred way of going with CIBC.
And I'll just quickly mention too, both TD and CIBC both have a secure message feature on their website, and I actually have been able to close cards. Yes,
that's news to me. There you go.
Using those two services. So if you don't want to talk to anyone, or if you're closing an account for, say, your P2, using the secure messaging on those two websites works.
The more you know.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that will save, I think, every happily obliging spouse quite a lot of stress. So that is probably the tip of the episode. I'm going to call it now. Amex US, so moving back south of the border here, is a little bit more advanced than all of the banks in Canada. And you can actually cancel a card via chat, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So definitely be careful with it. If you're looking for a retention offer, it's a little bit scary sometimes with Amex. If you just say, yes, I want to cancel, it's happened before where people have canceled a card that they fully intended on keeping open due to the automated process of canceling via either chat or via phone. So particularly with Amex and all issuers, be very careful. But Josh, you've got something here.
I have a few tips about canceling Amex US. So anytime I do it via chat, I always list the last 5 digits of the card, and I list it multiple times when I'm talking to them. So I'll be like, okay, I want to close the card ending in 31000. And then they read the disclosures, and then you're like, yes, proceed with closing the card ending in 3100. Just because, you may have multiples of the same card, and the last thing you want is them closing a card that you opened 2 months ago and get that claw back on those points. Second thing, if you're closing a business card in the United States, just say the business is no longer operating, and they just do it immediately. They don't ask questions. They don't try to retain you. They don't pass you around. They just say, great, we'll close it. Here's the disclosure, done. Super quick, takes a couple minutes tops. So anything you can do to speed these processes up makes it a hell of a lot easier.
Yes, definitely agree on that. Now, one thing that Amex Canada can do, that some of the other banks can do as well, but it's maybe more important with Amex Canada because the points are so valuable, is that if you're canceling a membership reward earning card and you have another one, you can transfer your points to that card, which will preserve the points. So you don't need to feel like you have to transfer all your points to a program and make a decision and then end up being stuck with a whole bunch of points in a program that you maybe would have been able to get better value out of otherwise. Actually, a question here for the group. Do we know if, let's back up a little bit. There used to be something called Membership Reward Select, or MRF points. And these were different than regular membership rewards. Do we know if it's still an issue to transfer membership rewards to a card that earns membership select rewards? Or is that gone the way of the dodo?
I have no idea.
I think membership rewards select aren't a thing anymore. As far as I know.
Think so too.
They're all equal, as far as I know.
I think so too. Yes, I believe that's correct. Well, at any rate, on our next news, one of the questions that we might answer and corrections we might have is that that is not correct. So for now, we'll go ahead with the fact that you can transfer any membership rewards earning card, which would be Platinum, Gold, Business Platinum, Business Gold, to the membership select earning cards, which is just a Cobalt now. Very good. So, moving on from any tips to close your credit card, we might have some other options. So, before you call up TD through the app or schedule a call back with CIBC chatbots, what are some other things that we can do that aren't canceling that might still have a similar effect? Jeff, what's the first thing that we can try to do?
So the first thing I always try to look for is a retention offer. Now, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe only American Express in Canada makes retention offers. Is that right?
That's all I've really heard of. I would love if anybody has gotten a retention offer from another financial institution in Canada, let us know, please. I'd love to hear about it, because I've in many years never have heard anything.
Yeah, same with me. So, I mean, if you're dealing with Amex, then a retention offer is usually what you're going to be targeting. If not, if you're dealing with one of the other banks, a downgrade to a no annual fee card is usually the next best option.
Absolutely.
Yes. Or, I mean, sometimes product switching to a card that's got a different set of benefits that still has an annual fee. So this is something that we talked about in our news episode with the 55K Avion offers, is that even if you don't necessarily need another Visa Infinite or another Avion Visa Infinite, when that 1 year mark comes up, rather than canceling it, I would say that earning 3 Avion points per dollar on dining and gas at places that don't take Amex, pretty darn good return. So potentially switching even to a card that has an annual fee is valuable, right?
Yep.
And have we had any recent Amex retention offers?
Yeah. So just recently, just as early as last week, I did an upgrade offer 1 year ago from the Cobalt to the Gold card. Now, we don't really talk about the Gold card very much because, honestly, it's not that good of a card. But the upgrade offer on the Gold card is really good compared to what the public welcome offer is. So that's why I decided to go the upgrade offer route. And the 1 year anniversary hit and the $250 annual fee landed on my statement. So I kind of had like a flow chart in mind of what I was looking for, because honestly, I have no intention of keeping this card unless I was getting a retention offer. So I called in in the hopes of getting a retention offer, and if not, a downgrade if available, and if not, I was going to close the card. So I contacted Amex and I just said to the agent, I'm thinking of closing this card. Is there a retention offer or a downgrade opportunity available? And she came back with a retention offer of 7,500 membership awards, no spend required, and there were no downgrade opportunities available, which I think are only available on a per account basis, because I've heard of some people being able to downgrade cards. I don't know. It wasn't available to me. So I kind of did a bit of quick math in my head. The 7,500 membership awards are worth around $150 if you value them at 2 cents per point. It's usually really easy to get that. At least the way I travel, I'm always redeeming for business class. So it's usually quite easy to get even much higher than that. And when you factor in the $100 travel credit on the Gold card, that's $250. That covers the annual fee as far as I'm concerned. And anything above that I use in terms of benefits on the card is a win. So I accepted the retention offer, and I'm going to keep the card for another year. Then they do state that to you when you accept a retention offer, that you must keep the card for another 12 months. Otherwise, the points can be clawed back.
Yeah. That's the same in the States. That's the biggest tip, is if you're going to do a retention offer, you have to keep it a year from that date. On the American side, I've pretty consistently gotten retention offers or been offered them when I've been canceling cards. They're usually nothing to write home about. Like, I canceled a no-fee Hilton card and they offered me 5,000 Hilton Honors points after spending $1,000. I didn't really care. I wanted the line of credit to be freed up. What I will say, and what I've seen some good success with, is if you know you're going to be keeping a card in the States, such as like a Hilton Honors Aspire or, the new Personal Platinum, still ask for a retention offer. You're already keeping the card, so why not ask and see if you can get, maybe they'll offer you 20,000 Hilton points for spending, $1,000 or something. Like, it's there's no real downside if it's something you are already going to keep open. Just make sure that, like Danny mentioned, if you turn down the retention, make sure that doesn't result in them closing the card. Like, just be very clear in your wording if you're doing it through chat or whatever. So, but I think it's always worth asking. Why not? Right? The worst they say is we don't have anything, or it's a shitty offer. And you just say, thanks for letting me know.
Yes, and your mileage will absolutely vary on this. Between my wife and I, we have never received a single American Express US retention offer.
There you
go. Even among friends, you are going to find different experiences with this. So if you don't have a retention offer, it's probably nothing you did. It's just the fact that it's truly a lottery.
Yep.
There is one more thing that we should mention. Depending on why you're looking to cancel, you can change credit limits also as well on many of your cards. Many of these banks allow you to do it online, whether it's self-serve or via chat or via secure messaging. A good example is, for example, if you have over $50,000 in credit with RBC, they won't approve you for new cards. So if you're over that, it's worth it to lower it. Again, probably a niche use case, but if that is part of the reason why you're concerned about, you might have, $200,000 of available credit, it is something that can be done.
Very good. All right. I think that brings us to important things to consider before canceling a card. And the first things that come to my mind are going to be, do you have any trips booked that you paid the taxes and fees, or just a full outright portion of your trip with that card, and maybe it had insurance and you want that insurance to still be active when you go on your trip? That's one that I think a lot of people often overlook. And especially if something goes wrong, unless this is a super expensive card, usually your credit card annual fee is going to cover more, first of all, and be cheaper than any travel insurance policy that exists out there. So while it might suck to pay that annual fee, if you've got an expensive trip coming up and you want that insurance, definitely still consider it. But there could also be some things like credits that you maybe haven't used up before you cancel. What would be some cards that come with credits that we want to make sure that we use?
A simple one for me, and I know Jess talked about how much he loves this card before, is the American Express Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant in the States has a $25 monthly restaurant credit that you can use in Canada on Uber at restaurants. It's like the simplest thing in the world to use. Even if you're canceling on like the 4th of a month, buy something on the 1st. Like there's no reason to leave $25 on the table. I think it depends too on like the difficulty of the credit to use, right? That's always the balance.
Yes, I agree. And actually, on the topic of the Bonvoy Brilliant card, that's actually a card that I was planning on canceling because I've been traveling so much that I really don't need any of the benefits that it comes with. Like, I get platinum status and titanium status without even really having to think about it. So for me, that automatic platinum status and the 85K free night certificate didn't make much sense. And I was actually able to downgrade my Brilliant to the Bonvoy Bevy. And I don't think the Bonvoy Bevy makes sense for a lot of people, but because I have so many Marriott stays and I put all of my Marriott stays on that card, I'm pretty close to hitting the $15,000 threshold of spending to get a 50K free night certificate. And then B, because I stay so much at Marriott Bonvoy properties, that card has a very unique benefit where it gives you 1,000 points for every stay that you have. And I think I'm going to stay individually like 30 or 40 times at Marriott Bonvoy properties this year. So for me, it was, you know what? I'm going to get an extra 30 to 40,000 Marriott Bonvoy points. I'm going to save on the annual fee. And there's a pretty good chance I'm going to get a 50,000 point free night certificate. So an interesting downgrade option that I've publicly called out the Bevy and said it's not a good card, but so far I've kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, so it works for me. So look at all downgrade options as an important thing to consider before you cancel. Also, knowing what's going to happen to your points and miles. We talked about this a little bit with being able to transfer your miles or your points to another card, or are they genuinely going to just go away, right? But Jeff, what are some other things that you think is important to consider before you cancel a credit card?
So this is something we see specifically with Amex, and they require you to hold the card for at least a year from the time you open the card, and then wait for that annual fee to post before they. Well, I mean, you can close it beforehand, but you will risk having any welcome bonus points clawed back if you cancel before that first year is up. And as I mentioned, that also applies to retention offers as well. You have to hold the card for 1 full year after you accept that retention offer, and that now applies to Amex Canada and Amex US. Amex Canada used to be a little bit more lenient on that, but the general advice now is to hold all Amex cards for at least 1 year before you consider canceling.
Yep. So note down the date you get approved. Keep track of it. I was curious, do any of you guys do anything with like authorized users on any of your cards? Because what comes to mind for me is the Scotiabank Passport Visa Infinite card, where authorized users get lounge passes, right? So, if I were to hold it and my partner has an authorized user card, that's potentially a lot of lounge passes that are going, or, perhaps you have a family member that's an authorized user, and, like Danny mentioned in a previous episode, and I've done the same where I've, had a friend who's a BizPlat holder, authorized users me as a BizPlat for lounge access. If you cancel that main BizPlat, obviously you're losing benefits for everyone. So making sure that it's not going to impact others' travels or anything like that, because closing the main card obviously impacts any authorized user cards as well.
Yes. Definitely something to consider before you pull the trigger on canceling. Ensure that there's something to replace those benefits if the people that you share your credit line with are taking full advantage. All right. Our final point for today's episode. I know it feels too short. At least the news episode a few weeks ago was a little bit longer. But our final point for this episode is, how does closing a credit card affect your credit score? Pretty short answer on this one. The first point that I'm going to make is that your oldest cards are the ones that are going to affect your credit score the most. So, of course, when your credit card or credit line has been on your credit report for a very long period of time, if you cancel that, you lose all that good payment history. But if you've got a card that is only a year old, you're only losing 12 good payment history, and you're not really losing anything else. What do you guys think? Is that a pretty fair assessment?
Yeah. I love it. I think we get this question a lot, and I've heard it from many people even in person, where they're always worried about the credit score and credit report, which is great. I mean, I think that's such a core component of personal finance, but as long as you're keeping your oldest cards, I don't know, like I'm sure you guys probably feel the same. Your credit report and score probably looks excellent.
I agree. I used to pay a lot of attention to it, and I kind of stopped, and it hasn't really, it never seems to fluctuate that much as long as you're making all your required payments on time, and doing as Danny said, not closing your very oldest no fee cards, no annual fee credit cards are nice to hold forever. You don't have to worry about your credit score.
I think that falls within the realm. When we did our What's in Your Wallet episode, we talked a lot about like sock drawer cards. I'm sure we all at least have a couple of really old cards that we got, whether we just turned 18 or shortly thereafter, that have, decades of credit history now, that are just no fee, and you might throw a charge on them once a year. So it's an easy approach. If you have it with a weird issuer that you don't really care, don't get rid of it, but throw a reminder in your calendar, put the odd purchase, and just hold it forever.
Yep. Yeah. And if you're looking for a card to hold forever that genuinely has some benefits, I think Canadian Tire Financial Services, or CTFS, gets overlooked, because the no annual fee World Elite MasterCard comes with free roadside assistance, and it's actually saved me just earlier this year. I randomly got a flat tire driving through British Columbia, and I was able to get a tow completely for free to a Canadian Tire store, and they put a patch in my tire for $30. So that literally saved about $200 from what would have been a tow back in, because I was driving somebody else's very old car that had no roadside coverage, and all I had to pay was $30 to get the tire fixed. So that was awesome.
When you cancel a card, though, it is removed from your credit report eventually, correct? Like it'll hang around for a bit.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's years, right? We're talking years usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So my knowledge of how long things stay on your credit report isn't very current, but the last time that I looked this up, it's about 7 years is how long things take to come off your credit report. So even if, let's say, you made a mistake on a credit card and you missed a payment for whatever reason and you cancel it, that missed payment probably won't drop off your credit score for quite some time. So making sure you have all your payments done on time is the second most important part of your score after utilization. How much of your available credit you're using is very important. And obviously, if you have a canceled card, you're going to be at 0% utilization. So those missed payments are the only thing that really hang around long term.
Yep.
Excellent. So that'll do it for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Miles Ahead. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any questions about anything we discussed, please leave a comment wherever you're listening or on the episode page at FrugalFlyer.ca. And if you have a question you want us to answer on air, you can submit it at FrugalFlyer.ca/podcast. Bye, everybody.